Even with Kevin Durant, should the Rockets actually be considered a lock for the number 2 seed in the Western Conference? And could anyone potentially actually beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the second round of the playoffs? It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. No games right now, so we're just covering the biggest topics around the association here. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
And I'm John Karalis, at John_Karalis on Twitter, host of the Locked On Celtics podcast.
We appreciate you making Locked On NBA and Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week because there's no off season in the NBA, covering the biggest stories around the league. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well and comment along on YouTube. And let's get into the topics that we want to cover. They looked at the Eastern Conference yesterday on the show, John. So we're gonna focus on the Western Conference here. And I want to start off with the Houston Rockets. Look, they made arguably the biggest move of the offseason, bringing in Kevin Durant. So the question then becomes, they're not better than OKC, but are they the second best team in the West? I'm not so sure, but let's first go to Jackson Gatlin of Locked On Rockets for his opinion.
The Houston Rockets are absolutely the second best team in the Western Conference this upcoming season. What's up? This is Jackson Gatlin, host of Locked On Rockets. And look, man, you're talking about a Rockets team that just won 52 games this past season. They were the number 2 seed already in a bloodbath of a Western Conference. And you're adding Kevin Durant to that roster. They didn't gut their roster to get KD. They traded Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks, and they signed Dorian Finney-Smith to replace Dillon Brooks. So effectively, you're swapping Jalen Green for Kevin Durant. And look, yes, KD will be 37 this upcoming season. Yes, there is a bit of an injury history there. But pending health, KD shows no signs of slowing down. He's still very much a top 10 player and one of the most gifted, efficient scorers to ever touch a basketball, which addresses the Rockets' biggest weakness this past season. They didn't have an alpha. They didn't have a true go-to number one guy, an option to get them tough clutch buckets at the end of close games when they just needed to put points on the board. The defense will still be elite. They will still be a nightmare on that side of the basketball. And you sprinkle in a little bit of internal growth and development for the other young guys like Alperen Şengün, like Amin Thompson, Jabari Smith Jr., Tari Eason. I don't know how you can't look at this Rockets team as being the de facto number 2 team in the Western Conference.
All right, John, what do you think? Is Jackson correct, or are there concerns about the Rockets here?
So I don't know. Like, I think there's a middle ground here. Like, I understand every reason why the Rockets are in there as the de facto number 2. Everybody talks about OKC and Houston. It's always like they're the same. It's like one team, and it's like it's okay, C and Houston. But I get it. And everything Jackson said is correct. My question here is, we know progress isn't linear in the NBA. So
that's something a lot of people forget.
Yes. And so I understand 41 wins, 52 wins last year. And you say, okay, well, we're going to take another step forward. How can you not take a step forward? You improve the roster, no doubt. So yes, on paper, I understand why people are going into the season saying Rockets are number 2, hands down. I still question whether that youth is going to slip somewhere, whether they are going to kind of start going off on their own individual things. This is one of the problems with young teams. Guys start to say, okay, I'm going to start going for mine, right? Like maybe Şengün starts taking a few too many shots. Maybe he's like, okay, I'm going to make my push. There's always that risk. So on paper, yes, the Rockets, I get it. but I still kind of need to see it because I still believe in like the Denver Nuggets, for example. I believe in some of these other teams as potential, and we're going to get to it in the second segment about
we'll talk
threats to
about that coming up.
OKC.
Yeah.
But I believe in other teams as real threats and teams that could potentially come out of the West. So I'm not 100%. I'm not as sold on the Rockets as everybody else.
So I think there's a couple of things to look at it with this, right? Like one, Jackson says the Houston Rockets were the 2 seed last year, and that's a fact here. But like you could argue they were one of the worst 2 seeds we've seen in recent memory in the NBA playoffs, right? Like that, they didn't look like a 2 seed in the postseason here. So I think as we're talking about this, and it's like, are they for sure the 2 seed? Like, yeah, maybe in terms of win losses, but are they actually like the second best team in the West is a slightly different discussion when it comes down to it. But also to the first point of that, right, in terms of just wins and losses and being the actual number 2 seed, if Kevin Durant plays 60 games, right, or 65 games and not the 82 games, are they going to lose those games that he doesn't play because they are missing that alpha scoring guy that they need? And there has been that injury concern with Kevin Durant. Say they get into the postseason technically as the 3rd seed, they might be the second best team if you get a healthy Durant there. But, I'm nitpicking the semantics of like the frame point of the discussion here, but I think that's kind of a factor into it as well, right? Like, look, they're going to be good. I don't think there's any denying that. Kevin Durant is probably the most plug and play kind of guy that you could put on that team, in my opinion. I'm not worried about team chemistry or anything like that when it comes to that roster and what they're going to be able to achieve. It's just more, is he actually going to stay healthy or not? They're going to be very good defensively, I think. You get the score that you need. There's a lot to like there, but one injury, as we've seen, with the Suns or any other team, can completely derail that. And look, that's more likely to happen to a player that's older than not.
That is the huge risk, right? I mean, it's a huge risk for any team. And like, I know whenever we do our like, hey, put a prognosis together for your team, they always say, just don't say injuries, because that's always going to be the case.
That's all I'm allowed to say in New Orleans. So
that's right. Like I cover the Boston Celtics. Jason Tatum, tearing his Achilles tendon that's why the Celtics are going to be a middling team probably at best. So yeah, the Rockets, you're dealing with a 36-year-old who is like, you're putting everything in the Kevin Durant basket, right? He is your primary scorer. He is your guy. And you probably can count on him, but the older you get, there is always the risk. You don't know from year to year to year exactly what you're going to get, and also exactly how many games he's going to have to miss to be his best in the playoffs, and how the grind of the playoffs, when you get to the every other day grind, how is that going to be? So I'm not trying to downplay the Rockets. They will probably finish either at or near the 2nd seed. They are one of the best teams in the West, hands down. I'm just like tapping on the brakes, not even pumping the brakes, tapping on the brakes when it comes to the Rockets, because if something happens to KD, then what? Or if KD has to miss little bits of time here and there, then what? And I want to see if that progress is linear from some of the other guys, the younger guys that you're counting on.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the big things. And look, like Kevin Durant's not averaging 60. I don't have the exact numbers, but looking at it, right? Like since he came back from that injury, since basically 2021, he's not averaging 60 games per season right now. And that's not necessarily an encouraging sign for a team that desperately needs him to be healthy and playing, right? Look, everyone needs their best player to be healthy and playing. That's not breaking news here. But then how does, if he leaves and misses time, are those young guys going to get some of the developmental minutes they need earlier on to be ready to kind of replace him, kind of to your point on this? And that might stunt some of the growth or lead it to it not being linear with some of these younger players, I think. So I think and then you look at teams, as you mentioned earlier, like the Denver Nuggets have looked very good this offseason. Minnesota's still going to be there. They're going to be competing. I think it's not a lock at all that the Houston Rockets are going to end up as the 2 seed.
Look, you got guys like, Amen Thompson, Reed Shepherd. These are guys that are 22, 21.
Reed Shepherd doesn't play though.
Right. Well, he's going to have to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And when he does play, he's going to have to start putting up some numbers because he's got team options coming up. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like these are like Amen Thompson is, I have the salary sheet right here. He's 22 years old. He's going to make 9.7 million team option this upcoming season, 12.3 the next season. Then he's a restricted free agent. This is where he's going to start saying, hey, I need to start making my money as well as and we know that winning a championship takes sacrifice. You've got a few guys on this team that are like, their personal goals have the risk of taking away from the sacrifice necessary. That's where I start to question. Like I just need to see them get through that part.
Well, let's look at some of the teams that maybe could kind of take the place of the 2 seed here for the Houston Rockets, because we want to look at OKC. The defending champions don't have a lot of luck the year after they win a title. Let's talk about the second round. Yes, specifically the second round of the postseason. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Game Time. Look, we've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever, and prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. So you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of like searching around looking for the best deal, Game Time's zone deals pick the best seats in the section you want for you. It takes the work out of it. And if you're going to go see a concert or show at a venue you've never been to before, the app has a panoramic seat view, so there's no surprises. You're going to get the sightlines you absolutely want. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. And thank you for making a Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week covering the biggest stories around the association. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. For your second listen, maybe it should be Locked On Rockets. Let's let Jackson Gatlin sell you on why they're going to be the number 2 seed. He was ecstatic, as anyone would be, about the Kevin Durant trade. There's probably some more intricacies to it. He's covering it over at the Locked On Rockets podcast. So, John, let's stay in the Western Conference. And you brought this, I had kind of forgotten about this, but you brought this to my attention. Yeah, just jump
because I
into
just
it
saw it happen.
Yeah, I know. You got a lot of firsthand experience.
Now 5 of the last 7 NBA champions have lost the following year in the second round of the playoffs. So a team hasn't repeated since Golden State. Was it 8 years or 2018? So this is like the ultimate NBA parody. And not this past season, the season prior when the Celtics won the championship, coming into this season, everybody was like, oh, well, yeah, the Celtics are going to get back to the finals. It was not even a question.
You thought it was going to be like, it was going to break the trend and everything.
Never a question about this. And even like Joe Mazzulla, I remember having conversations with Joe Mazzulla, and he'd be like,
on your show,
on my show at practices and whatnot, about him. Like, he's like, look, this whole conversation about second round, we got to get out of the second round too. And like the Celtics did not. So the question is here, no matter what we think, and I think pretty universally, everybody's looking at the OKC Thunder as not only like potential to repeat, but built to withstand the second apron in a weird like way that is not every team's going to have a chance to do. But what if something happens? Like for some reason, 5 of the last 7, and there've been a lot of teams that are like, we expect them to get back to the finals. What if OKC follows the trend? Who could be the team to knock OKC out in the second round?
So if we're having this discussion, right, you've got to kind of factor in the standings, I think, a little bit too, when it comes down to it, right? Like assuming OKC is going to be the 1 seed, they dispatch the 8th seed, let's say, in the first round. Then you're looking at them play the winner of the 4-5 series at that point in time. So, like, what team is a threat if they end up at like 4 or 5? And look, if we're putting the Houston Rockets at 2, let's kind of rule them out of this discussion potentially, right? You're looking at a team like Minnesota or Denver, most likely being the team that the Oklahoma City Thunder would play in the second round. And look, I like what Denver did this offseason.
Oh, sure.
I still think Nikola Jokic is the best player in the league. That's a threat, right? Like, even if you like OKC better, if Jokic does special Jokic things, that dude is very, very tough to stop. So, I don't worry about a team like Minnesota as much against OKC, but a team like Denver that definitely feels like they took a step forward and still has some flexibility to maybe do something else. That's the type of team that would scare me if I were an OKC fan.
And that's my number one choice. They're the team that nearly beat OKC in this past playoffs. Like, they're
much closer than it should have been, right?
Or they were right there, and they got nothing from Michael Porter Jr. And now they have fixed that problem, right? They've brought in Cam Johnson,
not Cam Thomas, Cam Johnson.
It's always the Cams that I get screwed. They brought Cam Johnson in, right? Christian Brown has gotten better. You've brought in Bruce Brown, the guy that knows how to help in this situation.
And it wants to be there and is like the right guy for Denver, truthfully.
Absolutely. So you brought in Tim Hardaway Jr. And most importantly, I think Jonas Valanciunas to give Jokic a real break. Like, is he a star player? But he's a legit guy. If you have Valanciunas as your backup, he is now that's a big step up there. So I think they addressed a lot of the things that hurt them, and they were still the team that took OKC to the limit. So I think if any team is going to do it, Denver is the obvious choice.
Yeah, like, that's the one that immediately becomes top of mind when you're having this discussion of like threat to OKC in the playoffs, right? And again, we've got to factor in seeding too. So I'm removing Houston from this since we just talked about them as the 2 seed, so you wouldn't get matched up with them in the second round. Could there be like a surprise team in there, like the Los Angeles Lakers? Look, it's LeBron and in a skinny, like, fit Luka.
How about the Clippers? Like,
I'd say the Clippers more so than the Lakers.
I'd say the Clippers more so than the Lakers because, again, that's a team that could fall into that mix. I mean, the Clippers could be a first round matchup for all we know. I kind of like what the Clippers have done. It's a weird mix. It's a lot of super veterans. Am I wrong for being a little higher on the Bradley Beal thing? I know he's always hurt, but considering who they have a bunch of guys who are always hurt. So you're kind of like, can you just maneuver when one guy is hurt, when one guy is healthy? But I do think the Clippers are actually kind of like a sneaky team to watch in there. I don't think they have the speed that will bother the Thunder, but looking at teams that you're like, well, second round, I don't know. The Clippers have a chance if things go right.
I'd say them more so than the Lakers. I don't think the Lakers have the depth for it. They have the top end talent, but I don't think they have the depth overall in that roster. At times looks a little wonky to me. Clippers have that more depth. And look, you also have Kawhi Leonard that, like, if he is the Kawhi Leonard we've seen in the past, right, he's going to shut down Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to not shut him down, but make his life more difficult. And that changes that series all of a sudden, right? If you have an SGA stopper, and we all know who Kawhi Leonard is. So that does make them a little bit more intriguing here.
What about, I think one of the things that's going to bother OKC is just knockdown shooting. Mm-hmm. Could the Warriors surprise the Thunder? I mean, they're old and they still lack depth, and the Jonathan Kuminga thing is still way out there, and we don't know who the Warriors are going to be, but we know they have Steph. We know they've got shooting. We know that they have a kind of like a style that will lead to a high volume 3-point shot, high variance type of thing. Could we see a series of Steph gets ungodly hot. Maybe Jonathan Kuminga or whoever you're in the Kuminga trade. Maybe you add Al Horford and he like has a game that he wins because he hits 5 3-pointers. That type. Could the Warriors be that shocking second round team to knock out the Thunder?
I'm going to actually be pretty emphatic on this one. No, no, they cannot be that team. That actually gives me an idea. I got a real or fake for you. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. And thank you for making Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week covering the biggest stories. The offseason doesn't stop in the association. We're covering it all here on Locked On NBA Game Night. For your second to listen, go make it Locked On Thunder. Are they worried about anything over there right now? They might just be riding high off the title, not a concern. Go listen to Rylan Stiles on the Locked On Thunder podcast. Make them your second listen today. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, John, you give me an idea for a real or fake here, which is what we do on Fridays. Let's hit the music.
Is this real or fake? Just ask John and Jake.
So I just love the music. That's so much fun to me. Real or fake?
Yeah.
This is the last gasp, the last dance for the Golden State Warriors this season.
Yeah. Yeah.
So real.
So real. The realest real I've ever seen. Look, I appreciate what Steph Curry has done, right? He's revolutionized this game. And I think when you come back into NBA history, like 20 years from now, we'll look back and really understand how game-changing Curry was. His
impact is going to be just
undeniable.
If you don't see it now and you can still see it now, it's going to be even greater in the future.
Yeah. He's in like that Pantheon Hall of Fame, or as I like to say, the Hall of Fame's Hall of Fame.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
And okay, but he's 37. He's 37. And honestly, like that, there's only so much he can do. Jimmy Butler he's done. He just can't be what he was, that playoff Jimmy, that guy. He just can't do that anymore. Now they have the potential for, a little bit of noise. I don't know if I want to say a run, but again, the whole Kuminga thing, I don't even think like, okay, so you bring him back. Like, is that enough? Who do you get for him if you trade him? Are you going to get enough in a trade to make that a big deal? I know they're waiting on a couple of potential signings after the Kuminga thing. I know Al Horford there is a kind of perceived as a done deal. They're going to be super old, and I don't see a ton of depth on that team. You're really leaning on Brandon Podziemski to do a lot off the bench. You're leaning on Buddy Hield to do a lot off that bench. So I think they're kind of in their death rattle anyway, but
yes,
I don't know. This could be like you pull the plug and like maybe there's like, oh, wait, they're still kicking. They're still kicking. But if whatever they do this year is going to be better than what happens, I think next year they're just going to have to accept what it is and move on.
I mean, they don't have flexibility to really do much, right? To dramatically change the roster. It's an aging roster that is very expensive, it's like that towel. You're just trying to wring every last drop out of it, which look, they probably should be. But here's the thing, right? Like if Kuminga was going to be the guy to kind of carry the torch for that team in the future, you'd have paid him by now and he wouldn't be a restricted free agent hanging out, right? Like I get trying to get the right cost for him and you have the leverage given he's a restricted free agent. We talked about it last week on the show too. But look, you don't want to upset him to the point where he's just like, screw y'all, I don't want to be here anymore. If he was good enough, you would have paid him. This wouldn't be an issue anymore. But clearly they don't believe in him that much. He was getting DMPs in the playoffs, right? They don't believe him. It's really is that simple. So you just don't have the next guy to carry your team going forward, meaning this group is essentially done, in my opinion. Look, can they get into the playoffs? Yeah, I believe that. Could they maybe get out of the first round? Probably not. Can they win, make it a 6-game series in the first round? Yeah. Does that count as noise? Does that count as a dance, a run, whatever? Probably not, right? Like That's kind of where I see them. That's why, in the last segment, I'm like, no, I don't think they're going to challenge the Thunder in the second round in any capacity. I think that's it.
Because they would, the thing there is they have to get out of the first round. Is like, that's a great point. You have to get out of the first round to make the second round upset. So it would just tough, like especially with Steph Curry with the style that he plays, just all of that running. That's a lot of running, man, and it's amazing. Running. It's amazing that he still does it. It's a lot of running. It's too many miles. They're just I don't know what's Steve Kerr going to do. How is he going to change that offense? Is he going to change that offense? You can't at this point. You just try it. You just keep rolling with it. It is what it is.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you another real or fake here. I want to switch gears. You want to get a little silly here at the end?
It's a Friday, of course.
More minutes. It's a Friday, of course. Let's end it on a positive note.
We got 5 more minutes to talk.
There we go. USAtoday.com's For the Win blog put out a ranking of all current NBA mascots here. I have a problem with this list. Look, it's a fun list. I'm not going to actually flame anybody or be that upset here. Real or fake? King Cake Baby is the worst mascot in the NBA. The Pelicans' King Cake Baby is the worst, creepiest, scariest, whatever word you want to use. Well, actually, he is those things. Real or fake? He's the worst mascot in the NBA.
Listen,
which is
you got to appreciate King Cake Baby for what he is.
Come on now, what are we doing here?
I think King Cake Baby is awesome. He's freaky. There's no doubt about it. But I've grown to love the King Cake Baby. There's no way he's 30th. Yeah. There's no way he's 30th. There's so many teams out there with crappier
don't have mascots. Those should be the ones at the bottom. The Lakers, the Knicks, the Warriors, the Nets don't have mascots. Those should be at the back there. Look, I'm not a big fan of the Celtics mascot, but
hey, wait now. Now, where's the Celtics mascot here? 28th. Okay, so the Celtics mascot is actually a person, right? There's the logo is actually a person, and the Celtics mascot, known as Lucky the Leopard, he is the guy dressed as the mascot. So, but he goes out there and does the dunks off the trampolines, which are amazing. I watch them all the time. I know he busts his butt to do this stuff. He's out there entertaining. He's very acrobatic, athletic. He's doing cool stuff. What's a mascot supposed to do? Entertain the crowd. He entertains the crowd. Is he the best mascot in the world? No. I get how some of these guys can be because you're doing some of this stuff in the costumes. Okay, fine. But so go ahead.
All mascots are good mascots, in my opinion. Also, if you rank King Cake Baby that low, he's just going to show up to your house and maybe murder you. So I don't know why you would do that in the first
do not anger King Cake Baby.
Hey, what are you thinking there? That's like a horror movie of someone saying what's the worst that could happen to us? Of course there's you're going to get killed.
How is Hugo the Hornet, who is an actual person with just a bodysuit on, how is he 7th? But
no, they have 2 Hugos. There's Super Hugo, and then there's the actual
Oh man, this is crazy.
On this one, the Suns gorilla is 17th. No, he's one of the OGs. That's a dude from the 80s, right?
That's
he needs to be
ranking Hakeem Olajuwon down there. No, this is the gorilla is the original. The original gorilla could not be beat. Don't even talk to me if you think the original gorilla, he was the reason why NBA mascots became awesome.
1980, right? You got to think about that. You got to put some of these mascots that were Benny the Bull from Chicago, 1969, by the way, might be the oldest one on there, which I also think is pretty cool to actually think about here. One I do not like is Chuck the Condor with the Clippers. I just don't like the way he looks. I don't know. Nothing against you, Chuck. I don't get why the Clippers have a condor. Maybe there's something that I'm missing.
I don't know. So I guess they're endangered and they're out there. That's great. I mean, I don't think animal on the verge of extinction, unless you protect them, is the way you want your team to be kind of seen. So no, I get the Rocky He's like flying
get that
all over
one.
the place like that. Some of these mascots are like, or stuff the mat. Like I was in Orlando for the Celtics Magic series, and they brought him all the way up to the rafters like anybody that's going from like the floor to the rafters on a harness, like you get my respect, because I don't even want to like look over the ledge of the balcony.
We're going to end on this. You remember what happened to Rocky, the Denver Nuggets mascot, when they tried lowering him down from the rafters one time? If you know this, when he passed out and then like collapsed on the ground as they were lowering his like limp body from.
No, I don't remember
ceiling.
that. Actually, I don't remember that.
Look it up after. If any of y'all haven't seen it, this is why you almost have to rank him number one. I don't know what happened, but he was like up there, passed out, and as they're just lowering him down, it just looks like he's not real, and then he just hits the ground and like is on the ground. It's like, oh no, this has gone horribly wrong. No one was hurt, everyone was fine, so that's good. But the video is absolutely hilarious to me. That's where we're gonna end.
Okay, yeah, good on. No, I was just gonna crap on Franklin the dog in Philadelphia, because he sucks. That's all right. That's it. We'll end on Rocky being great.
And that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Some mascot talk on a Friday here. Of course, we got to do that. As always, on Fridays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at Nola Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast.
Just content for the 3 remaining people listening. I'm John Karalis. Find me on Twitter at John_Karalis. And I host the Locked On Celtics podcast.
We appreciate y'all listening. We'll be back with y'all next week, and King Cake Baby is gonna find you somehow, probably.
Do not anger King Cake Baby.